Greetings, MelVee family. This is the MelVee Podcast on the Go, your show where we discuss anything with anyone, anywhere, on the go. But sometimes we sit down and talk to real people of value in this world, people who have been there. You know, like I always say, they've bought the t-shirt, they've worn it, it's torn, they can tell you all about it. Today, we're very privileged to have a big brother of mine. He's a big brother, this one. You'll see him in a moment. He's been around the block. You've seen him sing, you've seen him preach, you've seen him coach, you've seen him mentor. He's got a fantastic career. So we thought we'd sit down and extract some lessons from him, some experiences, perhaps things that you can learn and understand how to run your life in this dash that I call life, from your date of birth to your date of death. And we meet in this occasion having gone through a very traumatic phase where we lost his young brother. And so I want to tell you that we are talking about life, realizing that we've lost a very close brother who was here on MelVee at some point, and we had fantastic time with him. Let me welcome him, and thank you so much for taking time to be here. Caleb.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for hosting me. Looking forward to the discussion and the conversation.
Yes.
And obviously happy to dish out as much as I can in terms of, my past experiences, what I've learned, what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Hoping that someone out there would be inspired, someone would learn something to help them become better people in the future, for the future.
You know, I don't take this moment lightly, because your young man was here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back and I'm like, I first met him at Brixton, and the same circumstances that he ended up here is exactly the pathway we ended up here. So I don't want to take this moment and make it light. I know this means a lot, and my condolences.
Thank you.
This is the first time we're meeting face to face since the time we lost our brother Sibeko. But how have you been?
Well, obviously from the time that we lost him, it's really been a very difficult moment.
Yes.
For myself, for the family as a whole. There's a lot of things that we've needed to take stock of, just to make sure that, we can account for what has happened and how do we move forward. And interestingly enough, from experiences such as these, you begin to ask yourself questions that would normally, miss you. You wouldn't even think about. For instance, questions like, this was my only brother that I had. And frankly speaking, while we knew that we were the only brothers, but you never look at things from a perspective that says, this is the only brother that I have. It is only after you've lost that person
that you realize you've got no one else.
That you've got no one else. I mean, my sisters still have a brother in me. It was either him, it was both of us. Yeah. And then in the absence of the other, it's either him or me. Yeah. But, they can still refer to a brother. But in my case, that opportunity is now gone.
Yes.
And then you begin to obviously realize the fact that you could have done quite a lot while you still had the gift of life together. Yeah. You could have, conversed a lot. You could have planned a lot. You could have done a lot of projects together, jointly, as brothers, and really enjoy the fact that you are brothers, because it's not guaranteed that it's something that will last forever.
Absolutely. Yep. Man, thank you for those words. And I really do miss him as well. Yep. I think the only thing I miss is that the last few weeks before he rested, he phoned me. I think it was at the death of Usipo.
Oh, yes, Kaleni.
Yeah, and he says,
Kaleni very well.
Something has come into my spirit, man. Look at what has happened to our brother Usipo. I need to do something. So we talked about this concept you had. And my only consolation is that I think God said, not for now. We'll do it when it's new, when Christ will come. Yep. But maybe let's take a step a little bit back. Let's rewind, go way back. Yeah. I want to go to those days when you were little boys with growing up. I'm talking about yourself now. Tell us about yourself, your background. Yeah. How did you grow up? I know you're Hluhluwe boys.
Well, the story of our lives, story of my life in particular, very much interesting. But obviously, whilst interesting, nothing different to the experiences of any African boy that grows up, I mean, I was born in the early 70s. I'll keep it at that.
All right.
I was born. That is for sure.
No, the flower on your beard tells us.
It tells that there's been many years, exactly. So I was born like many other kids. And obviously, during an era of apartheid, when things were really hard and difficult, but also at a time when the country was really at a point where everyone was pushing for liberation. I mean, the June 1976 riots happened during that era. And a lot of other, important, occasions happened during that timeline. So I was born in the early 70s. And strangely so, I was born in Springs.
Right here in Gauteng?
Right here in Gauteng.
Wow.
That's where I was born, in the old township that was called, I've forgotten the name of the township, but just before Guatemala Springs was born.
All right.
So I was born there. Then my father decided to move to KZN.
Okay.
During my teen years. So I went through my primary education, high school education in KZN, which basically made me identify more as someone from KZN than someone from Gauteng. And obviously during my tenure, I mean, especially the high school part of it, I mean, I had an opportunity of being in the same school with some of the guys who are in the influential areas of government right away. I mean, right now.
All right.
Back then, obviously, I mean, we were just boys. We were just growing up.
Yeah.
But, God knows the plans that he has for each and every person, from humble beginnings to those, platforms in life where you are more influential.
Yeah.
Then finished my high school. I then enrolled for a BA Law degree at the University of Devon, Westville.
All right.
It's now known as UKZN University, Devon, Westville campus. Spent a good 4 years there. I remember I was privileged to be sponsored by Gillette, South Africa.
You must have been a wizard, a sharpshooter. People don't sponsor people who don't have the pedigree.
Well, of course, you've got to have that, but I always believe that it is God who makes things happen.
True.
Obviously, I'm saying that now as I reflect.
Yes.
At the time, I probably told myself, I must be doing something good.
I deserve it.
I deserve it and stuff like that. But truly speaking, when you reflect, you begin to realize that the success that you earn is the success that God gives to you.
Someone was controlling the blueprint.
Someone was controlling that hand that guides you, that opens up doors for you. Because after finishing the BA Law degree, I was then offered an internship, opportunity with Gillette again for a year.
All right.
That introduced me into the sales, area. Arena, so to speak. I mean, I had my first job with them as a salesperson. And at the time, the stuff was really flashy. I mean, I had a company car. I had a petrol card. Those things were regarded as, the best things that a person could ever get.
Yes, the delicacies of corporate life. The delicacies
of corporate life. And the opportunity to fly around, flown around by the company for various work-related, instances. And sometimes, if you're a person, and it does happen with a lot of us, especially black young people, you get to find yourself lost within that seeming success.
Yes.
And you begin, and you fail to realize that within your own success lies your own failures. And you then tend not to be aware of some of the pitfalls that you could have avoided had you been a structured person that knew exactly what you wanted. So yes, I've got that BA Law degree. I've worked for some blue chip companies. Lately, the vast of my career has been with multinational ICT companies. I've worked for the likes of Oracle. I've worked for the likes of IBM. I've worked for companies like SAS. I've worked for Microsoft. So really, the opportunity to serve
Yeah.
and to do the best that I could has been made available in many areas.
But let's go back to those days. I mean, someone might say, okay, you grew up in KZN.
Yeah.
You went to the university.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy.
Of course.
What are some of the challenges you remember from your childhood years that you could say have really impacted on me as a person?
Obviously, the background issue as a black South African, obviously without the privilege of parents that have got everything, do have an impact on your path towards success, one way or the other. Just to bring a point a point across.
Yeah.
I mean, at a very early stage in my life, I found myself having to take care of my entire family. What had happened is that my parents had come to Durban. I was in Durban at the time for a visit. And they came to visit me. When they went back home, they realized that all their belongings, all their life belongings that they had been taken away.
Someone came in and robbed the whole
house. And then I realized there and then that the place is not safe for my folks. I did not want them to feel like they are now destitute. I mean, when you are at a certain age and you have to start from scratch, it sometimes seems impossible. So I then decided, you know what, fine, I'm still a student. I'm about to finish my studies, but you can come and stay with me. And let's figure out how we move forward from this point.
Oh, wow.
Now that teaches you the value of being responsible at a very young age.
Wow.
It may, at some point in time, come across as something that is there to disturb you on a path that you've mapped out for yourself.
Yes.
But really, in hindsight, you are beginning to see now that certain capabilities were being, crafted in you to ready you for the future, so that you are able to deal with much bigger challenges, downstream.
Wow.
So instances like those where there isn't a proper balance in terms of the finances in the family, a proper balance in terms of, a rich background as a family, those things do impact.
Yes.
And you need to find workarounds and ways to overcome such. Yeah. But obviously, my case is not different to many other cases out there that, some of my peers would have gone through.
Yeah.
We tend to appreciate now that we know that it was actually God equipping us for the future.
And how did you survive the youthful years where everyone was dancing and having fun? Because many people talk about those. Those days, what was it that occupied you, that kept you on the pathway?
I do understand the question, and I do realize that out of respect, you don't want to be too direct in some instances. I mean, as a boy, obviously, I wouldn't actually say that there are certain things that I did not do that young men would do. I mean, I used to have girlfriends when I was growing up. Yeah. Chase after women when I still had, the looks.
They're still there. They're still there.
No, believe you me. It's all gone.
We can still see them, man.
So every stuff that a young boy would do, during our times, I did. I mean, there were no cell phones then.
Oh, yes.
So you had to travel long distances to go
to be physically present.
Exactly, physically present, and register your feelings.
Yes.
There were no SMSs.
No emojis.
I believe, exactly, no emojis. You say, you had to articulate yourself, and state exactly what is it that you want. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, No. So we've had to go through all those motions.
Yes.
I mean, write letters and wait for 2 to 3 weeks for a response, There was no SMSs.
So did you used to write those letters where you would seal them and then you would say kiss before you...
Well, obviously, we would just write. But you would then hope that what you receive is in a pink envelope. And the color of the envelope would actually tell you that, obviously whoever...
Things are going well.
Things are going very smoothly. So I'm very much happy we've gone through those experiences.
Yeah.
And probably that's where we want to be able to be understanding when it comes to our kids, you know, who live in the age of, I mean, I call it the information age.
Yeah.
With the information being available to them at the tip of their hands.
Yeah, you know, I think you grew up in the times when the world was coming out of the swinging 60s.
Yeah.
That's why this question is very important. Yeah. Our kids today think that we didn't face the challenges they are facing today in terms of morality.
Yeah.
In fact, we are the generation that grew up, and I remember, because I'm a public health specialist and I do health, you are into law, so you would know the legal side of things.
Well, sales, honestly speaking, it's just that I studied law, but I never practiced.
It's more sales.
Yeah, it's more sales.
Yeah, so we were born, I was also born in the 70s. I think I'm a bit younger than you. We were the first generations who were demanded to say, if you go out and you have girls, you must be educated and you must be informed. We are the first generation who were actually taught reproductive health as a public demand from the public system. Yeah. And we are the first generation of teenagers to whom condoms were issued to us. I'm being direct now because someone thinks that we didn't face these things. We grew up in an age where one of the first questions I had to make when I was looking for a job was whether the company distributes condoms or not. It was a big issue when we grew up and as teenagers. Yeah. It was a moral issue. Yeah. And having a condom was synonymous to you being immoral.
Of course.
But then why was it like that? It's because we grew up in a time when STIs didn't have cures. Yeah. And HIV had just come up. I don't forget having to see one of a young man I grew up with being the first case of HIV, seeing it live and seeing how this thing is very brutal. And being told, if you are not careful, you'll be like
that's
that
where
one.
You're going. Yeah.
So we grew up in that age. Yeah. So love for us was a risky business.
Of course.
When I'm saying love, I'm saying if you want to have love affairs with sexual intercourse, it was risky for us in those days.
Of course.
We grew up in that age.
Of course.
And so to survive it and come out without any of those STIs, not I'm saying that we went around sleeping around, but I'm saying our generation faced a lot of those challenges.
Of course.
And for me, I faced young people who were dying and getting sick. We witnessed our first babies who were being born positive. Yep. But we are also the same age of parents who witnessed the miracle of medical science, where some of our babies who were born by our generation were actually born HIV-free.
True.
Because of the treatment program, which now is being used as a treatment for prevention. To say if you're on treatment, you can actually prevent transmitting it, and you can live a normal life.
True.
So you and I come out from that age where love was dangerous.
True.
We are perhaps the generation that when marriage counselors were sitting us down to counsel us, they demanded that both of us get tested.
That's it. That's true.
You know, but for now, our kids are growing up in an age where this thing is now like any other chronic disease.
Yes,
it's being managed like any other chronic disease.
And my take really there is that, you know, it all has to do with the generation in which, like you're saying, a generation in which you were plotted to be born in or to survive in. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about an age in the early 70s where condoms were introduced. Yeah. There's a generation that never even knew there was stuff like that. Yeah. There's a generation even beyond that wouldn't even think about stuff like, you know, getting themselves involved in sex. You know? And then we have our kids now, and I believe that they've got the genetic makeup that allows them to survive in a society that is as messed up as this. I mean, it scares me when I look at how society has panned out to be. Yeah. But for them, it's life. You know why? Because you know they've been born for such a generation as this
one. Exactly. This one. Yeah. I mean, look at you growing up in the political upheavals of South Africa. You are just but a young toddler, and you are learning life in this violent and painful society. That creates who you are.
Of course.
All right. And then you move on to the generation that gets free. Yeah. Whereas our fathers would tell you, ungalu nomlungu. Don't fight umlungu. He's giving you your bread. But you are now living in an age that says, to hell.
Exactly.
with whom
you tell them where to go and open the door for them.
Exactly. So let's move on to the spiritual aspects. Yeah. How much spirituality was there in your family? And tell us about some of the lessons you've learned in your family. I've always seen you and the late Sibeko as very spiritual people.
Well, spiritual, I would love at some point to understand your definition of spiritual.
Because I believe human beings are mental.
Yeah.
We are physical.
Yeah.
You've got the looks, man. I must compliment you. You've got the looks. You've got the presence.
Yeah.
You could stand in front of people and just wow people. You've got that aura and charisma. But
Thank you.
But we are also as physical, as mental, as we are spiritual, in the sense that we believe there's some power outside us.
Perfect.
That determines who we are.
We
didn't just find ourselves here on earth by our own choice. There's a greater power that has purpose for us. So for me, that's the spirit man.
Perfect.
The inner man who finds the balance between the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the higher order.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
So I'm not talking about church. I'm not talking about church. Church is another thing, but I'm talking about being spiritual.
No, perfect. I think by God's grace, really, one is, I can consider myself fortunate to have found myself being born in a family of Adventists.
All right.
All right. I want to believe that probably if I wasn't born in an Adventist family, I would have been one of those people that would have found it difficult to accept the Advent faith, purely because of how I think and how my psyche is made up.
Let me shout
so
hallelujah
God's
to
provision.
God.
It is God's provision, and that's why I'm not taking it lightly.
Oh, yes.
Neither am I saying that for those who are not born in Adventist families, it is because probably they will never attain to a faith such as ours. Probably for them, it would be easier to respond.
Yeah.
For me, probably it would have been a little bit difficult.
God knew it.
And God knew it.
He says, this one, I'm converting him through the birth.
Exactly, through the birth. Let him realize who I am, but within a zone of safety.
Yeah.
If I may put it.
Yeah.
I come from from that background. My father was a very strict fella. I'm sure you'd have picked up from the conversations that you had with my younger brother.
Yes.
That, at some point in time, and I still ask myself up to this time, that what came to my father's mind when he decided that we are moving to Hluhluwe.
Wow.
We moved to Hluhluwe at the time where there wasn't even a single Adventist family.
You're kidding me.
Not even one.
So he's living the well-established faith here. Massive church.
Everything, structures in place for kids to grow, for everything to thrive.
And then he goes into a no man's land in terms
of... To a no man's land, to a place, to serious bundus, I know that, our kids are socialized with the fact that, when you talk bundus, you're talking about 3-star hotel. And they say, no, this is seriously
or some
rural.
game park where there's some nice...
with us,
the
experience was such that certain nights you would share them with snakes in the house.
Wow.
So anything was possible.
Nature could come to you.
Nature would come to you. And you could then see from that point that you were able to survive. It was by God's grace.
Oh, yes.
So my father decided to go to this place called Hluhluwe.
Yes.
And we did not understand what came to this man's mind. But you begin to realize now that God wanted an Adventist movement to be established in that rural place called Hluhluwe.
Wow.
Whereas we wouldn't have chosen to go there. Whereas, I would have done everything possible to come up with excuses not to find myself in a place like that. You look at it now, it's a thriving Adventist community. The message has gained so much, rooting in that place, such that there's even an Adventist school.
Wow.
And you begin to see that it was purely because God wanted him to be there.
I know you're talking in a high level here, but Sibeko spoke about this testimony in one of our discussions. There's a lesson we actually put out there where he talked about him going to this unentered area.
Yes.
Did you ever ask him what his vision was and what his plan was?
Well, obviously, those years you never had an opportunity to ask your parent questions like that. It was, yes, daddy, and that's it.
Let's go then.
So you just go to that place. And interestingly enough, at that time, I know that our car, the family car that we had, which was an Isuzu LE, had broken down. So we had to hop onto a bus.
All right.
And really use public transport to go to a place that we've never been to before. But, you then begin to realize that when God has purposed you to go to a particular place, He prepares people that will receive you.
Yes.
There was a family that we had never met before that opened up their house and accommodated us.
Wow.
For 2 years plus, allowing us space to build our own house.
Had he lost his job, or was he running away from persecution?
No. He hadn't lost his job. I think there was an idea around country living and all those, I'll call them shenanigans, for lack of a better word. There was an inclination, that propelled his thinking and his decisioning. But God wanted to establish an Adventist church.
That's the bigger picture.
That's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But also God wanted us to establish friendships with people that we could never have thought we could associate with.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people of the Shembe faith.
All right.
And see how welcoming they are. See how dedicated they are to the causes they stand for. Have neighbors that are able to come and support you, especially during your times of need. I mean, in Tlhotliwa, for instance, if you're going through grief, it is the neighbors who bring food to your house.
They collect from their homes.
There are some who would come and cook in your house, but there are some who would bring groceries.
Wow.
To lighten the burden. So you begin to understand and see how God would want us to relate as human beings.
And these are Sabbath keepers as well.
These are Sabbath keepers, exactly.
Wow.
So that when you start flourishing in life, you never forget.
Yes.
That it is God who makes all things possible. Wow. But also you begin to accept that, God has His children everywhere in this world. Yes, we've been given this special message as Adventists. Exactly. I mean, I always refer to Adventism as a special purpose vehicle centered around Revelation 14.
Yes.
Our messaging is very clear, captured in that space.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that the other denominations, the other religions, do not form part of God's children. God has got His children everywhere. So you begin to understand and learn from those experiences that really it is always best to live peaceably with everyone else.
Yes.
Because everyone else is your brother. Everyone else is your sister. All of us are a community of people that should be embracing each other and supporting each other.
I would actually want to extend that to beyond just us as blacks in Africa. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I found myself at home here. The first time I flew into KwaZulu-Natal for a work assignment, I was working with traditional healers. Don't ask me what I was doing. I'm a public health specialist. We're living in an HIV and AIDS and TB age. So I'm trying to train them on how to prevent, because many of them were treating people and they don't emphasize the infection prevention methods. And so a TB case comes, they think it's some spiritual thing, but it's TB. And many of them get infected. And when this client stays with them for months, they're exposing their own families. In Ndhalambi, and he treats this person in that place. So I'm going there to train them. So I arrived there, and this brother looks at me. I could tell there's presence there. He says, "Usufikile mfoka Ndhalambi. Ubuye ngizokhombisa kwabakini." He's telling me, "Come, I'll show you your people. You belong here." It's a long story. I'm Zilika's ran away to Zimbabwe from Shaka. But the moment we begin to realize we are not just related, but we belong to one Father.
Yeah.
I think that message, I want to extend it to even all South Africans.
Of course.
Whether Xhosa, Zulu, Tsonga, Venda, Tswana, Ndebele, you name it. We are one. And let me include even the Afrikaners, who may think that they're a special breed of people who came to civilize us. No, we are one people.
We are one people.
When you cut a white man, the blood that comes out of there, if you test it, it's also in the black man.
Yeah.
A white man can be in hospital in need of blood transfusion, and that blood comes from a Xhosa man or a Xhosa girl.
Correct.
We are one people. Correct. God said in Acts 17:26, He made us of one blood.
That is correct.
And then determined the places where we live.
You couldn't have put it any better. I think it's the bad tendencies that we tend to learn as we grow up, But otherwise, I mean, really nothing should be causing us to look at each other differently.
No.
I decry the state of violence that happens in our country as a result of people looking at each other differently. I mean, I decry the fact that we've had to witness what was referred to as black on black violence way back in the 80s and the early 90s, and all because, certain people looked at themselves as better than the others, And then we begin to forget that all of us are human beings.
Yes.
That all of us have got one Father, and that Father is God.
Yes.
What is expected of us is to be as welcoming as we can be. I mean, look at the story of Abraham.
Yes.
I mean, had he not welcomed the strangers who were passing by,
Lord would have
he
been
wouldn't
in trouble.
had a bit of a scoop on what was going to happen in the future, let alone the blessings that he even got because of that. So really, what is expected of us is to be as welcoming as before.
Wow.
And the great thing about part of my family background, I mean, you'd find this very much interesting. I would go to shops, go for shopping, and then I would speak in Zulu.
All right.
And the ladies on the counter would basically say that, come on, are you speaking Zulu? And then I would say to them, what's the problem? And they would say to me, you look a bit Indian than
really?
Zulu. So I've had such, experiences in life.
Yeah.
Which basically teaches me the fact that within my bloodline, there are a lot of possibilities that I cannot brush aside. But the only thing that would give me sanity is believing that I'm a child of God, that I'm a brother to everyone. I should embrace everyone in the same way and show the same love.
Kudos to the MelVee Church and the families and that family that took care of this brother. Look at him now. And so that's how spirituality manifested in your life. Your father takes that decision. You find yourself in Tlhotliwe. But today, you say it's a thriving community of believers who have accepted this special vehicle message. And so talk to me about how that impacted your own personal life. Seeing that now you are back in Gauteng, one of Africa's largest metropolitan zones and areas, perhaps the largest economy in this part of the world. How has that impacted the person that you have become?
In a very big way. In a very big way. I mean, in Tlhotliwe, that's where I learned out of a personal experience that really God does come through for His own.
Okay.
And it basically shaped my understanding in terms of who God is. And obviously to relate to Him personally as my God, as a God of my father, because I've seen how He came through for my father. I mean, there were instances where some of the neighbors would come and confess to my father and say, you know what, actually we were ganging against you. We wanted to burn down your house. Because this faith
that you're bringing
here seems to be taking root, number one, with our children. And number two, according to us, these kids now are becoming a little bit disrespectful. And in order for us to deal with this thing, we thought, let's come and, deal with this man.
Deal with the source.
But lo and behold, whilst we were coming, we saw a hedge of fire around your house. And we told ourselves that, the inyanga that this man is using must be so powerful, Wow. And they would relate those stories with us listening, of course. And my father would just laugh it away, but knowing exactly that it was God who came through for us, I know of some of the young men who their parents would instruct them to go out and head cows on Sabbath. And they would, head the cows to a particular place, pray for the cows, asking God not to allow the cows to start grazing in people's fields up until they come back from Sabbath. And God would honor that request. They would come back and there would be no other fields that would have been messed up with. The cows would be found grazing exactly where they left them.
Wow.
How do you explain such? It can only mean that it is God
The angels.
at play. It is God honoring, the faith that you are displaying.
Wow.
It begins now to redefine, your understanding of faith. That faith has got nothing to do with calculated risks. Calculated risks come about because we've now been to universities and started eating a bit of sushi,
and the cons.
the pros and cons and everything else. Think about Peter.
A fork and a knife somewhere.
When Peter said to Christ, "If that be you, call me
I want to
come
walk."
with water." There was no moment for Peter to start testing the water with his toes to realize whether would the water be able
This
to
is
carry.
a fisherman, he knows. You jump in there, you go down.
Exactly. But there was no time for testing whether, would this water be able to carry the full weight of who I am as Peter. But also, as he made his strides towards Christ, it wasn't based on trial and error. He only sank as he removed his eyes from him, as the Bible says. But, for instance, if you're going into a mall,
Yes.
especially, the malls nowadays, as you approach, the doors open.
Automatically, they sense your presence.
They sense your presence and they open up.
Wow.
You don't stand back and say, I will only walk into the mall
when the door
is open. But as you progress and you move forward, the motion sensors pick you up and they open. And I believe that, with each and every step of faith that we take,
the spiritual senses.
Exactly. The spiritual senses come in and God carries you from strength to strength. Now, looking at Caleb now, thriving in cities like Johannesburg and having exposure to have traveled the world and to meet a lot of influential people, one can only say that it is purely because God is gracious, that God is faithful. Yes, I've made terrible mistakes in my life. I will not say I've been a perfect person. Yes, I've doubted God in some instances, and made too much of calculations, instead of just trusting Him. But I do realize that if I don't trust in Him fully, if I don't have faith, that does not make sense in the eyes of those who calculate things out, then I'm missing the mark.
Wow.
So such that even the journey that I want to embark on from this point going forward, it must be based on the fact that God has already planted the path towards success. I must just trust Him with every stride that I make.
Wow.
And He will carry me through.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, for me to make it here, last night I wasn't sure I was coming. Had terrible flu.
You don't say.
Terrible flu. But I woke up in the middle of the night. I prayed and I said, God, I don't want to miss this opportunity.
Yes.
Make it happen. Obviously, I drank a few meds, to make sure that, I am as comfortable as possible to boost the system. And woke up this morning, took a shower, told my wife, see you later. I'm going for the appointment as scheduled.
Wow.
That is what happens when you take God at His word.
You don't look like you had flu yesterday.
Well, in fact, it's been the whole week.
Wow.
It's been the whole week. Yesterday, I think, was a bit stressful for me. In anticipation, obviously, of the fact that, we have.
No, you set yourself up to this one.
Exactly. And I did. And I'm a type of person who, when I've committed, I do not want to let down.
Oh, that's
I would
beautiful.
rather do everything that I can to show up. And that has been my mantra in life. When you've committed, when you've made a promise, show up, deliver, do everything that you can do, and God will do the rest.
Amen. Amen. I want us to finish this on a very exciting note. But before I get to the very exciting part, I want you to talk about how God has led you at a family level.
Interesting question.
What has God done for you at a family level that you could say to someone out there, I've been there, I bought the t-shirt, I'm still wearing it. It's not torn.
Well, I love that question. And I think it's important for many reasons. Reason number one, it is true that you should never judge the book by its cover. Open the pages. Like what people would say.
The knowledge.
Exactly.
Yes.
The devil is in the detail. In the details of my life as well. You would say there's been some devilish. Some details that would scare people off. Because we are not angels, we're human beings. Yes, God gives us opportunities to be born in families. Yes, God does bless us with families of our own. And God obviously gives us the responsibility of being leaders in those families. The interesting thing, though, is that some of the lessons of your leadership role in your family, you get to know of them as you lead.
All right.
I would say that specifically in the Sibeko family, I've been fortunate in the sense that our fathers have taught us the value of family unity, and the importance of pulling together as brothers, but also the importance of respecting the hierarchy in the family. So if I were to look at all my brothers, unfortunately we've got words like cousin, brother, cousin, sister. In the African setting, we're just brothers. Exactly. In my family, I'm the eldest brother. So part of what I've been taught by my fathers, and this information has been cascaded down to all my other brothers, is that when this dude has spoken, you don't question. You execute.
He's got the mantle.
Exactly.
When he speaks,
he has the responsibility to command. And you guys must see to it how you even get the means of getting what he wants done. But obviously, what that requires is a very good balancing act mentally. Because it means you are not expected to be abusive of the throne. You are expected to be equitable across. To discharge the responsibility to the benefit of each and every member of the family. Now that teaches you that even in your own family, as you are heading your specific family that God has blessed you with, you need to be able to be as fair as possible. But interestingly enough, Ndhalambi, you'd be surprised that I've got a son that is purely American.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I'm saying. Purely American. Born, bred in America. No South African citizenship.
Really?
But he is a Sibeko, Maziya Kembe Mcusi Injiki.
But he's American.
A replica of myself.
Wow.
What I'm trying to say by bringing this across is that, as I've stated, you should never judge the book by its cover. All of us have got instances that have landed us to places where we've done stuff, but still God has been gracious to still call us his own.
You don't look like
and
the
to
guy.
Continue blessing us even into the future. I need you to say
Kudos to that young man out there, the young American guy. Daddy's here. You are in touch with him?
Yes, very much in touch with him. We're planning for him to come and visit us at the end of this year in December.
All right.
He has been visiting, obviously, every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was around when my father died.
Mm-hmm.
He attended the funeral. Very much responsible young man.
Wow.
He's obviously passed his tertiary education.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pharmacist. Very much proud of him.
Wow.
But not only proud of him, proud of his mother and the father that was there to support him, and to make sure that he has a father figure to look up to formulate his masculinity going forward when I was not there.
Yeah.
But I've had to deal with very tough discussions with him because, boys always want to know where their fathers are.
And why you are not with mommy.
And why you're not with mommy.
Yes.
And Ndhalambi, the first question that I've had to deal with him with when I met with him for the first time in his American accent was, why did you leave us?
I can almost imagine.
Now you can imagine how humbling such a question would be.
Yeah, he wants to know.
He wants to know.
He wants to know.
Exactly. But then you have a son that grows born and bred in your own immediate family. And you can see that he's trying to stretch his mind to try and understand, how do I come to have a brother that stays in the U.S., that is purely American, that I can only see at certain intervals, And then you need now to come out of your comfort zone and be able to explain to young people how life develops.
And how to handle these curveballs.
How to handle these curveballs.
Yes.
And how they should at best conduct their lives such that, they're able to anticipate what the end would be, right in the beginning.
Sounds
follow
like
a plan of some sort and be able to achieve.
I always wonder how Abraham handled the Ishmael issue.
Yeah.
Because it sounds and feels like it. Though the circumstances may be totally different, but the fact that you have another son out there, that God himself even says, I love that one, I'm going to bless him, but I don't have a covenant with him.
Yeah.
How did that go through with Abraham's mind? And then he finally has Isaac, whom God says, go and sacrifice. All right. Why didn't you sacrifice that one? Why are you sacrificing
why this one? The child of the promise.
You see the circumstances?
Exactly.
Your son in Africa might be thinking, why am I the one being sacrificed? Or the other one in America might feel, why am I the one ostracized?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, God says, I'm blessing Ishmael and I'm going to bless Isaac.
That's true.
And so you're living perhaps with what we could call a blended, mixed family.
Correct.
Where the core family is not the one that lives in the same unit, but there are other core members who are part of it, who are extended.
Correct.
But let's get to the other fun part. Maybe give us a few lessons you've learned away from the family in the corporate sector that you could say to young people out there who are aspiring. What are some of the principles that really should define you to be successful in any career that you think have applied to your life?
Very great question to ask. And I believe that, in one way or the other, corporate life does provide an opportunity for people to have a structured work life so that we have the necessary discipline that would carry you even when you start moving into areas where you're running your own business.
All right.
Corporate life has got its advantages and disadvantages, just like any other field. But what becomes important is what drives you as a human being. Obviously, all of us at a certain stage in our lives would be driven by desire, desire to be successful. However, that success at that point in time, we always define it in terms of making money,
Yes,
Ndhalambi dume, and all those things that really mean absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
And then you forget that corporate life actually is a training field. It is an opportunity for you to be trained, to prepare you for the future, to prepare you to become a better you
Yes.
to prepare you to even to be of good service in the church.
Yes.
You know, purely because it's a structured place. It's a place with a structure of some sort.
Yeah.
That allows you to grow certain capabilities, you know, about who you are, where you meet people of various influence, you know, who are able to add value to your life, who are able to, you know, broaden your horizon.
Yeah.
You know, some of the people are people that, you know, you would dream to think about. But here you find yourself
meeting them,
you know, meeting with them.
and talking with them and taking
Exactly.
selfies.
I mean, if I were to make an example, I mean, I work for a company called SAS. Now, SAS focuses on, you know, software that looks at analyzing, you know, data.
Okay, analytical software, big data stuff of softwares.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
You know, in the beginning stages of my career within SAS, I was so highly successful to a point that I would become salesman of the year 3 years in a row, not only for South Africa, but for MEA, Middle East and Africa.
Wow.
You know,
what was the secret of your success?
I would thrash those pharaohs in the Middle East.
All right. You'd sell and outsell them.
And interestingly enough, in the banking sector, that would be regarded as a forte for white people.
Yeah.
And I would be hugely successful in that space. My success caught the attention of the founder of the company, Dr. Jim Goodnight.
All right.
In that, you know, while I was plotting one of my biggest sales with one of the leading banks in South Africa, you know, and we were selling technology that was groundbreaking. I mean, there was no other entity that had bought it. So this bank would be the first one to buy. And the only convincing that you would come up with, over and above the fact that you've got your support structures in place, would be a commitment from the owner of the company, saying that, look, as the owner, I am committing myself that this thing will work. If it doesn't work, you know, in the event that it doesn't, you know, then these are the steps that would put in place. And the guy said to me, write the script for me. So I had to write the script, and he had to cut a video, and then, you know, send this thing to my customer. And the customer saw the commitment from there. But not only did it end there, he then invited me to what they refer to as the Global Sales Forum.
All right.
Where they would look at top performers across the globe and basically get them to come together and come up with means that would add towards the sales methodology so that the company continues to become successful.
So they're tapping into your
experience,
skills,
into your skills,
your approaches.
That's correct.
And the tools that you use to be successful.
Yeah, that's correct.
You know, what I see from there is exactly what the Bible says about Joseph. The favor of God was upon him.
Yes.
And he went out there not only just as a salesman, but a representative of God, an ambassador for God.
That's correct.
And favor came his way. And what I'm also hearing is that you've got to be committed to what you're doing and distinguish yourself with excellence.
That's correct.
And don't shy away and just remain mediocre in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're challenging banking spaces. You're innovating into spaces where this technology is not in. So break the barriers and go beyond.
And not be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
Not be afraid. Exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah. You can win this thing.
Yeah.
And that, what I'm hearing is that when you succeed, your gift will make room for you.
That is correct. Definitely.
Here you are in a global frame, sales forum.
Yeah.
Meeting with the who is who and brushing shoulders, and their success rubs on yours as well.
That's correct.
So young people must not be afraid.
But not only, you know, you get the rubbing of the shoulders with the who's and who's.
Yeah.
It is the relationships that you build.
Exactly.
For the future that you want to, you know, step into.
I call them networks that work.
Exactly. Networks that
work. You can't say I'm in a network and I'm trying to make a call and this thing is not going through.
No.
You might as well just throw that network away.
Exactly. I mean, it's not working. It's not working at all. So it goes back to the fact that all of us are brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
You know, whoever you meet in your career path, you know, treat them very well.
You You never know when you'll
never
meet
know
them tomorrow.
where you'll meet them tomorrow.
You know, you're saying that, and I'm remembering Ishmael.
Yeah.
Who carried Joseph to Egypt?
Yeah.
The Ishmaelites. Who were the
That's
Ishmaelites?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Abraham and Hagar.
Exactly.
And Isaac. So the great grandchildren of Abraham get to do a transaction together. So the people you chuck out of your life will come back generations after to facilitate transition.
And they will carry you. Yeah, they will carry you.
Exactly.
So it's important to live peaceably with everyone else. I mean, that's my mantra in life.
All right.
Romans 12:18.
Yes.
If at all possible, as far as you can from your side, live peaceably with everyone else.
Yes.
I can't stress this point, any further than I have. We've got challenges that we face in the world. We've got challenges that we face in our work lives, challenges that we face in our marriages, challenges that we face even at church, purely because because of pride.
Ego.
With ego, we don't want to live peacefully with people.
You're selling fish, as we say, selfish.
Selfish. If we all could embrace the importance of living peacefully with everyone else, I'm telling you, we would go very far in life.
And
because for me, the yardstick for how successful I have been is not in the favors that my friends are able to do for me.
All right.
But for me, it will be when I am no longer alive.
Yes.
And my son has got to step in the arena. And someone asks, whose son is that?
Is this?
And they say, it is Caleb Sibeko's son.
Wow.
And then the response is, we can't allow him to suffer. Give him an opportunity.
For the sake of Caleb.
For the sake of Caleb. Because of how you're conducting yourself.
Yes.
In the here and now.
You're the blessing forward.
Exactly.
And in fact, that's a beautiful principle, because I would even add and say, even when you dim my light, you switch off my light, it will not make yours burn brighter.
Definitely.
The fact that Cain killed Abel, it didn't make him acceptable.
No, definitely not. Instead, it even made his life
worse.
A little bit more of a challenge.
Exactly. So if we could learn to just live together and appreciate that we are different and learn from those who are doing the best and copy them.
Yeah.
Life is all about copying the
That's
good
correct.
examples.
That's correct.
And applying them.
Yeah.
So Caleb, I want to get this to a very exciting end. And again, because you are doing sales, you are talking to people, I will not even tell you about my experience of trying to do sales, man. It was a painful one. I was a student in the UK.
Yeah.
And I had to make a living.
Yes.
And some of the free jobs were to be in a call center and do cold calling.
Cold calling, yeah.
An African calling British people without the accent. Oh, it was a nightmare.
It made you sound like Kunta Kinte.
I went to the guy, I said, I've tried many years your calling list. I don't think I can do this.
It's not working.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I left it.
Yeah.
And I went to be in an industrial job. But let's talk about you using that gift of talking to people. You were mentioning to me earlier on that God has given you this interest to apply the same canvassing, the same, presentation skills in a particular way to grow yourself, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. What's your vision? What's your aspiration on this thing?
I love that question, and I really want to be very much thorough in providing my perspective around it.
Okay.
Because I think therein lies the fact that you will make it or break. I mean, you break or make it in life. If you look at the biographies of the leading executives, in big businesses, you'd figure out that part of the leadership roles that they find themselves in have been in greater part informed by them wanting to solve a particular problem.
Yes.
But not only just solving a particular problem, but offering a solution into some of life's threatening issues. you look at the Satya Nadell's of this world who leads IBM, Microsoft, sorry, you look at his biography, you'd pick up that the guy was passionate about a particular solution, that touches even his family, but also cascades to the broader world, you know. So you look at the biographies of these people to pick up that, you know, you'll never become functional in life unless you know exactly what is it that God wants you to do. In other words, what challenges and problems in life would God want you to solve?
I call it clarity of purpose.
Clarity of purpose, definitely. I mean, you told me that you went to UK, so it's easy to spot that one from your perspective. You know. So once you've identified that, which basically then talks to the innate talent that you have, it becomes easy for you to go out and be a salesperson like I've been, because I'm solving problems.
Yes.
I listen to a problem statement.
Yes.
And I'm able to bring a solution that solves that problem. Be it an IT solution related problem, be it, I mean, the first job that I had was with Gillette, and we were selling razor blades, and they were dealing with the challenge of a beard, you know, and male grooming, you know. So once you internalize the fact that you are a problem solver, that you are a solution maker, then you are halfway towards achieving your greater mark in life. All other elements really revolves around education, being disciplined, you know, and various other aspects that builds up a successful career. But if your career is not informed by, you know, a problem that you are solving and the solution that you are bringing across, you then find yourself vacillating in various areas and having no purpose and being unable to achieve your greater objectives in life. So in my case, I've realized that, you know, I'm a very passionate person, passionate about, you know, solving people's challenges and issues.
All right.
You know, that is why, you know, it becomes difficult for me to turn down a responsibility to be asked to serve as an elder, because you have to be of service.
Yes.
There are challenges that need to be solved.
Exactly.
Or any other service at church. You know, being a deacon, you know, any other area of service that is required of you. Because, you know, you are a person who is within a metric of responsibility, of providing solutions to challenges.
And so you step up to the challenge.
You step up, exactly. But that does not mean that when you step up, you'll not meet discouragements. There will be discouragements, you know. There are certain things that you must learn in life. It is not everyone else that will want to accept you. You know, even those that you accept may choose not to accept you. It's okay. Continue with what you are good at.
Yes.
Don't allow the fact that you've not been accepted to change who you are. And you end up finding yourself being bitter. Perhaps as you continue being a good person, other people may be transformed as well and want to be like you. And I kid you not, Ndhalambi. I mean, there are people who've actually, you know, come back to me after an episode of sourness, and they would say, you know what, honestly speaking, I think what I've been doing is a disfavor.
Wow.
I'm really sorry that, you know, we've had to clash.
Yes.
You know, help me also to try and improve in some of the areas of weakness in my life. There are people that will disappoint you. But all those are landmines that are plotted in your way towards success with a view of thwarting you from achieving the greater objective. As long as you know that you're a problem solver and you're coming with solutions towards challenges that are faced by humanity, soldier on, move forward. It is the same reason that, you know, is propelling me to look into my next possibility in terms of career move in life. I mean, recently I've been looking at, you know, formalizing the offering of solutions as a master of ceremonies / program director, because I do pick up that there is a need in that space. You know,
professionalizing that
space, professionalizing it, using that God-given talent to earn money, effortlessly.
Wow, using what you already have inside of you.
Wow, to make money effortlessly.
You know, what you're saying here, Caleb, is so revolutionary, and I know you're going to make it. I'm not just saying this to please you because we are on set. It's because I'm putting in 1 + 1 together. You come from a history of actually convincing people to accept this solution and teaching people on a solution, like you said.
Yeah.
So standing before people is not an issue now.
Definitely.
You can. You're not intimidated by success because God has given you that success. You come from a very spiritual background and family, where you not only are a member of a family, but you're a member of a body of faith that you have served, and distinguishably so, in various places. I've seen you sing at some point. We have not even talked about you singing, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, this guy is so multi-talented. He's going to ace this thing. MCing definitely is an area I feel it's a critical space for our current setup. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. COVID-19 came and changed the ballgame for meetings.
Of course.
I had to learn how to be an MC, a program master on virtual platforms. I host a prayer program every night, Saturday night, where I'm forced to do some MCing of some sort. I'm an elder. It's no longer like the eldership we do at church.
Exactly.
It's memezelo and all of that.
Yes.
This is now almost like initiating a conversation, sustaining it, and wrapping it up with solutions and guidance and counseling. And out of that, creating additional work, because it doesn't end with a prayer. Someone listens to you and he says, I like what that guy is saying. Can I have your number? They want you to come and counsel. They want you to come and train. They want you to do this and this. It's a new space, and I think you're evolving from the sales person with a pitch. You are now coming to be an author and authority in a space where you're using the same natural talents.
Correct.
So why I'm saying you're going to make it is because you have combined your professional expertise skill with your natural talents.
Correct. Exactly.
The result can only be success.
Exactly.
You are tapping into the networks that you are experienced in, and you're not second guessing this thing.
That's correct.
If I bring you to media this side, you will struggle.
Of course, no. I would definitely open the door behind you and walk out of this place.
So tap into your expertise and your skills, and you'll make it.
That's correct.
Fantastic.
That's correct.
Man, I wish you all the best in that space.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we should actually try you as soon as possible.
Well, obviously, I'm very much open for opportunities.
Throw you into the deep.
Last Sunday, I offered my services to an organization that referred to as the World Adoption. I think they were hosting a World Adoption Day.
Okay.
And I emceed, obviously gratis. The experience was very lovely. It was great.
Yes.
There's various other, organizations, and I'm talking about international organizations, professional institutions.
Yes.
Where I've offered my services gratis.
Wow.
But then now I'm looking at how to formalize this with the purpose of creating a competency that would thrive, but also a legacy that would be left behind, so that our young folks can learn how to do that best. Look, as you've said, our kids live in an age where everything is available, but I still believe that we have a responsibility to offer guidance and coaching, so that, even with the exposure that they have, it happens with a certain level of discipline that guarantees them success.
So are we looking at an institution here?
Well, definitely that's what's coming down the line.
With master classes.
I've consulted with some of my contact bases, some of the people actually challenging, my vision by saying, why are you only thinking, only that small circle? Why can't you make the circle bigger and larger? come, let's sit down and talk and see how best we can try and launch this so that it benefits everyone else. In Ndhalambi, there's endless opportunities here. There's opportunities to bring in less fortunate organizations so they can benefit from this.
Exactly.
Young and by doing that, you're offering those multinational an opportunity for them to plow monies into worthy causes. That's what I'm saying. It's a mix of a lot of things that can come out as possibilities whilst providing mentorship to our young people who are coming up.
I think the world is in need of solution makers, problem solvers, not problem creators, problem solvers. And I think you're going to be one of those. So let's wrap this up with a very exciting phase. I told you I'm going to get to the exciting part.
Yes.
Have you published any book before?
No, I haven't.
So if you had to publish one book, what would be its title or subject
That's
matter?
a very good question.
I'm throwing them now impromptu at you.
No, I like the question.
This is not rehearsed, guys. I'm just throwing these questions to him to find out some stuff.
If I were to publish a book, I would entitle it, Boys to Men.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. There's certain assumptions that we would normally have as boys that sometimes, unfortunately, inform what we think of manhood. Sometimes those assumptions are born out of lack of available literature to help guide the thinking, to help, realize the fact that, a boy is a human being, is a man that is growing, actually, And sometimes, really, we become careless at certain stages in our lives while we're still boys, whereas there are certain things that we should have been careful about that would have launched us into a much better manhood stage in order for us to thrive. And part of why we do that is because of how society has brought us up. We've been brought up into a society that says, magnify only what is good about you. Tell people
hide.
And then hide the other stuff that have been boo-boos. Whereas you want to bring the boo-boos so that people are able to avoid them. One guy told the story of a fish, forgotten the name of the fish, that, in the prime of its life, swims into the deep waters.
Okay.
But when it is close to extinction, when its life is about to come to an end, and it has offspring, it starts swimming shallow. Okay. So that the offspring can feed on it. Exactly. So at a certain, why I would want to write a book like that is because I think it is important for us to coach our boys.
Yes.
So that they're able to become friends with us. They're able to ask all the questions that we couldn't ask from our fathers because they kept on swimming on the deep waters to enable them to have a better chance in life. Because if we don't give them those pointers in life, they will get those pointers from wrong people.
Exactly.
So I would write a book entitled Boys to Men.
All right.
And I'm sure you would obviously refine the topic much more better than how I'm putting it across.
Just put it out there and give us that offering. It'll be a best thing ever. I think it's a powerful topic. I think even the last message of that special vehicle we call the Adventist Church, we believe in the Elijah message.
Yeah.
What is the Elijah message? Malachi says, I will return the hearts of fathers to their sons and the sons to the fathers.
Correct.
So you are right where the money is and you're right on the prophecy.
Correct.
Right there.
Correct.
So let's talk about your worst nightmare. Something that you consider a nightmare of your life.
That was the death of my brother. That was a nightmare. It's a nightmare because, number one, and I think it's an error that we all commit. We believe that there is a certain age at which a person must die.
Okay.
So nowhere in my thinking had I ever, made space for a possibility for him to die
to leave early
at his age. That's number one.
Wow.
What makes the matters worse is that on Tuesday morning, I physically visited him. We had a great time together.
Something drew you to him.
We spoke, we laughed, we cracked jokes. I even gave him the phone to speak to my mother and reassure her that he's on a path to recovery.
Wow.
And then the next day, you receive a call that he's dead.
Oh no.
For me, that was the worst nightmare.
You don't wake up from that one.
Worst nightmare because, moreover, over in the fact that you didn't budget that he could leave so soon. A whole lot of questions start coming to mind. Did I support him enough as a brother? Are there any signs that I may have missed where he was trying to reach out for help? And probably I missed them purely because, of my disposition in my thinking that he's still young to leave. And probably there are certain things I look at myself now that I could have done that could have contributed to him having a chance. And as such, his death became a very big blow to me. A very shattering blow. But nonetheless, we pick up from that point and find ways to move forward.
Yeah.
Because then your mind gets stretched so that you can look at how best now to deal with the situation as it presents itself. Whereas I had 3 sons, now I've got a total of about 7 children.
Wow.
Because his kids are my children. Now, part of why I need now to think across various revenue streams is purely because I need to step up now and fill the void that he has left. One writer says, never let a good crisis to go to waste.
Yes.
Crisis.
In fact, in media, there's no crisis. Every crisis is an opportunity to brand yourself and get your message out.
Exactly.
You're right.
Albeit born out of a very painful circumstance. But it is part of a circumstance that stretches your mind, that causes you to think across different avenues so that you can find various niches for bringing in revenue streams.
All right. When you sit down, you're tired or maybe you're just happy. What is the meal you want to see in front of you?
No, that's a very simple one. Very simple because of some of the choices that I've made in life. I love my morojo.
All right.
Not cream spinach and what. No. Morojo without all the cream and stuff like that.
Just nicely fried. Vegetables,
and your nice pumpkin there, and then a nice smaller portion of hake. That makes my day.
Ooh, all right.
That makes my day.
All right.
That makes my
You want to
day.
eat it with your hands or with your fork and knife?
Well, obviously, to please my wife and to make sure that everyone else is happy and comfortable with me, I would use fork and knife. But that's me.
Wow.
I've cut out all other meat products except for fish.
All right.
And I'm sure at some point in time I will cut it out as well and just focus on consuming veggies. Because, as you advance in age.
And any specific reason why it's fish? I'm asking selfishly because when I'm really happy.
You will not like the answer that I will give you.
I want to hear it.
The Bible is replete with instances where Christ fed people fish.
Children, have you got any fish?
I haven't seen any I've seen it anywhere where they say he fed them with beef or mutton.
2 fishes and 5 loaves. If it's Peter fishing, have you got any fish? Come, have breakfast, and he served them fish. That's a good one.
So I decided to stick with fish. But obviously, obviously the other factual thing is I did my own research around the dangers of eating meat. In fact, I was asked by one lady at church under the health ministries department just to present on the dangers of eating meat. And at the time, I was so much into meat I would be the last man standing at Bryce.
Oh.
And I realized that this could be a trap. So I told myself, I'm not going to focus my research or use Adventist material as part of my research.
Okay.
I'll go and use whatever is available.
Yeah.
So I went into Google and started searching. And the information that I collated from there was enough to inform me that last night's meal was my last one, inclusive of meat. But that was way back in 2012. And that from that point going forward, I've never eaten any other meat except fish.
The fish. The one that Jesus saved.
The one that Jesus saved.
That's fantastic. That's a good one. When I'm really happy,
Yeah.
fish is what I ask my wife to prepare for me.
It's the best.
And we eat it together.
Yeah.
We don't use fork and knife.
Okay.
We use our hands. And
Yes, exactly. Make sure that
Yes.
every detail of
it's a meal that tests your patience.
Yeah.
When you
Of
eat
course.
fish,
Yeah.
especially the one that's boned,
That's bones. Yes.
that meal tests your patience
course,
in terms of
of
selecting.
Yes.
Yeah, but let's talk about maybe this one as the last one. Your greatest joy.
Yeah.
And maybe the second from last. I have one more I want to ask you. Your greatest joy. The thing that you look back and you say, I'm happy. I'm glad. I did this, or I have that, or I am this and I'm that. What's your greatest joy?
The greatest joy for me, Ndhalambi, has been the ability to maximize on the opportunities that God has given me. When you look back and you're able to count the blessings that God has blessed you with, it gives you joy. Obviously, those blessings could have been more with certain levels of discipline. But in most cases, we tend to be people who are so complaining, such that we forget that God has brought us this far.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that God has allowed me to do. I can tabulate them. God has allowed me to build a house for my parents in Hluhluwe, from scratch. God has allowed me to educate my children. God has allowed me to feed my family. God has allowed me to be of help to many people out there. I get a sense of satisfaction when I see people being happy and having achieved their own objectives purely because I've been a party to their journey, So you look at everything that God has blessed you with.
Yeah.
You look at the people whose lives you've been able to touch, and you're able to measure this. I mean, exactly at your time of need, when the odds are stacked against you, and there is absolutely no expectation for people to show up, people show up.
Wow.
And then that tells you that, God has made things available purely because you've been a sense of blessing in the lives of other people. So you look at all those achievements and what God has blessed you with, and it gives you a sense of satisfaction, not a sense of complacency.
All right.
Because satisfaction can lead to complacency.
Yeah, you've arrived sitting on your laurels.
Exactly. One of the biggest problems that we have is the arrival syndrome. I still believe that I should have been far than where I'm at.
And you must keep going.
Had I disciplined myself in certain areas and did things well and made certain decisions in a particular way in certain stages of my life, the achievement would have been much more larger.
All right.
But however, I am still thankful
that
God has been gracious.
Thank you so much for that honest answer. And you're quite right. In fact, even medically, when you help others, you are treating yourself.
Of course.
The best way to feel good and to release those feel-good hormones that are therapeutic is when you help someone and they're happy and you see that you are the one.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the same thing when you forgive those who wrong you. And now I understand why Jesus said, forgive those who hurt you.
Yeah.
Because when you forgive them, you are releasing yourself from the toxicity of anger and bitterness. and you get healed. So
I can't allow you to move from that point without making a comment.
Yes.
You know, forgiveness is very much important.
Yeah.
Mfowethu. Highly important in every sphere of life.
True.
Because you will meet with people that will take advantage of your good nature.
Yeah.
You will meet people that would go all out towards messing your life.
Yeah.
You know, I come from Hluhluwe, Kwamhlabia Lingana. You know,
I've been there.
People know how to use nature against you.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and do stuff that would, shock you.
Yeah.
That such things do happen. But the expectation is that we need to be people that are forgiving.
Yeah.
And one favorite pastor of mine makes a statement that says, it is mandatory for us to forgive.
Okay.
While it is mandatory for us to forgive, it is conditional for us to be forgiven.
Hey. Hey, don't expect.
As we forgive others,
yes,
forgive us.
Wow.
So you have to forgive.
It's mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Yeah.
So that you can then be able to qualify for the
condition of being forgiven by God.
And would go so far in this world and achieve a lot of great things if we could keep that thinking at the back of our minds.
Release your guilty people.
Exactly. Forgive and move on.
Yes, absolutely.
You won't go around with a tag at your back that says this one has been hurt.
In fact, if you don't forgive, the challenge of life is that you're going to start bleeding on others.
That's correct.
Because hurt people hurt other people.
That's correct.
So you need to heal before you move on to the next phase, because if you carry that bitterness everywhere you're going to go, you're going to sound bitter to everyone.
Especially for families.
Yes.
And I want to stress this. Families are areas where forgiveness becomes a big issue.
It's needed.
In families. And people forget that, it was by God's design for them to be born into particular families.
Exactly.
They had no input into that decision. All they know is when it was announced it's a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
Born into a particular family.
Yes.
And yet you find stickiness when it comes to forgiveness. Families being ripped apart.
Yeah.
Fathers against sons. Daughters against mother. Bringing curses into families that would never allow a family to become successful.
Yeah.
If families can learn the value of forgiving, and moving on and accepting each other, I'm telling you, this world would be a beautiful place. The communities that we find ourselves in would be the best communities.
Absolutely.
And the world would become a better place. Like Michael Jackson would say, I'm starting with a man of the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways. So it's important for people to forgive, and move on.
Yeah.
Because such is life.
Absolutely. Now, here's a final one. This one, take your time to answer it. But I know we're almost wrapping up to our listeners out there. This will be the last I'll ask. After this, I'm not going to ask again.
It's the last.
Preachers are saying, I'm concluding. For 20 minutes concluding. But this one is the last of the last. Yeah. We know one day we're going to have to vacate this world. Yeah. And the world will have to move on without us. Just like it is. We are moving on now without our brother, Sibeko. Ukaleni has rested. Uchekerwa has rested. Masosio is sitting where you are. Yeah. These are people who rested in the last year. Yeah. We're going to all go one day. What do you want to be remembered for when the name Caleb is mentioned? What must people remember about you?
Great question. When I'm no longer there, I would want to be remembered as the most compassionate person that ever lived. Compassionate not only because, you show up when there are instances that requires you to show up, but compassionate because you've touched people's lives in the areas of need. Our world is a broken world because of scarcity of compassion.
Yes.
Our young people do not have mentors Because those who are successful and are making it in life are not compassionate enough to bring themselves down to a level where they can be able to handhold them and, usher them into the stage of life.
Yeah.
Young girls are continually committing problems, and some even, committing suicide, ending their lives purely because, those that they look up to are not compassionate enough to understand their plight. Even in work environments, most of the employees would leave great working places because of lack of compassion,
From the supervisors.
Exactly, from supervisors, from those who are in charge. If we could all come to a realization that we're all human beings, that all of us need each other, that it's not just about an instruction, but it is also about showing me how it is done. Not because I am becoming a threat to your survival, but because as I move up, you also have an opportunity of moving up. The world will become a greater place.
Yeah.
So when I'm no longer there, I want my children to feel compassion from those that have demonstrated compassion to. I don't want them to suffer because their father was, this messed up person,
evil man,
who only did things his way and never took anything into consideration. But they should be compassionate to a point of saying, if this is Sibeko's child, I would rather do something for them. It is not by mistake that the Bible records these words that says, in the land of Uz, there lived a man.
Come on now.
Whose name was Job.
Yes.
My analysis of that is that book starts with the conclusion.
Wow.
Because the name Job, as you read about his story, you pick up a lot of compassion, pick up a lot of struggles, you pick up errors, but you also pick up areas where he turned around.
Yeah.
And it all culminated at a point when God says, in the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. So when I'm dead and gone, when the vacuum of compassion is felt, let people say that,
there was once,
when we was boys, we lived with this particular person.
Wow.
When we were at a particular stage in life, we had a person who was able to fill this void. To me, I think it would leaving a very great legacy behind. Because Ndhalambi, at the end of the day, the statement of judgment would be centered around I was naked.
Come on now. You're preaching to me now.
It's all about compassion.
Yes. And you didn't feed me.
Exactly. And it's all about compassion.
Oh, wow.
And for me, compassion really becomes a very important area of life. I mean, what would it profit me to achieve all these great things and still be uncompassionate? To be a father who is hated by his children, he's bought them all these expensive gadgets, but failed to demonstrate to them what love is all about.
Oh, man.
I would have failed.
Yes.
To be in a family there are families that regard certain individuals as being aloof. It's all about compassion. Don't lose your soul. Don't lose your sense of humanity. Be compassionate. And think about the next person.
Amen.
So that all of us can thrive.
Man, you've preached to me. This is a powerful
message. It wasn't my intention.
One day we're going to play it and we're going to remember this and we're going to thank God for it. So thank you so much for coming through to the studio.
My pleasure.
I definitely look forward to more, man, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
With the program emceeing, training other people on how to conduct these events and host professional events.
Awesome.
And all the best with selling.
No, thank you very much.
And
thanks for the opportunity too. I mean, I'm not a type of person that would, find themselves into opportunities like these.
Yes.
Normally, I regard myself as a background person unless I have to program direct, whether it be at church or whatever. But,
I definitely sense that this one, it's a pathway God is setting you up to. It's going to be successful. I told you this already. If you remember what I said.
You did mention.
Because even to me, you reaching out to me was an answer to a prayer I was making.
Awesome.
We're going to talk offset. Our listeners, we're done talking here. Thank you so much for this time. This has been a great time talking to Brother Caleb Sibeko. What a story. What a testimony. What a life. I hope you've learned something that can inspire you too. This has been MelVee Podcast on the Go with Melusi. God bless you and see you on the next time. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please look for that red button. Click on it, subscribe, so that when I post new videos, you will be able to get them. And also remember to leave a comment below. Ask us a question. You may want Caleb to come and answer something in your place, your church, your company, your business, wherever it is. Drop a note below. We'll be very happy to link you up with him. And God bless, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.